Can't say I'm sad to be leaving Paradise. I had no idea how tense things were with the Adirans moving in.
An equal's death won't help matters.
You had to know that might happen. I mean, you've met Ludwig, right?
Regardless, the Steel Garrote will see this as an excuse to crack down. I get the feeling they've been looking for one.
Steel Garrote? I figured they're just more intense Adiran soldiers.
They're certainly making their presence known. Can't say they're making any friends, though.
I don't like that Ludwig woman. She gives me the vrikas.
Yeah, I've seen floggings gentler than the scolding she gave Hilgard. One's tacking when the other's jibing, if you catch my drift. Taking in the slack is one thing. They look ready to strangle each other with it.
Then it's a good thing we're getting out of the city.
Yeah. Much as Liviana misses our company, I wouldn't count on your mysterious friend reviving you a second time.
Are you listening to that friend when you go all blank-eyed from time to time? Does your special friend talk to you? I mean, I had an imaginary friend when I was little, but they never brought me back from the dead.
He means that with all due professional respect, of course.
How do you know this friend doesn't mean us any harm? Unless they have their own use for you. That's what's giving me the shakes.
We're headed to Fior Messi Verno to see if the Animancers know anything about the Dream Scourge, right? Maybe we'll learn something about your condition in the process.
Right. When it comes time to deal with Animancers, you two are on your own.
Most fun things are.
They can stand around and have scholarly debates about souls all they want. Gives me a great opportunity to take a nap.
I haven't been back in a while, but Fior is, an interesting place. It was founded about 50 years ago by a disgraced Valian duke and a handful of Animancers who'd soured on politics in the republics.
Town full of nobles, scholars, and leeches, all surviving off the work of the farmers who grow food for the whole island.
They're an eccentric bunch. You'll see. It turns out that academics are as ungovernable as the rest of us rabble.
They don't understand what they're messing with. They can't tame the wilds with machinery.
They've held it at bay until recently. Their ingenuity, or madness, or heresy, take your pick, has fed a lot of people in the living lands. But, rumor has it, some unnatural blight is destroying their crops. We'll find out soon enough. And while we're in Emerald Stair, there's something I've been putting off. An old friend from my time in Thirdborn had a cabin out in the woods. Tama. He passed a while ago, but he left something for me that I never got around to picking up. But since we'll be in Emerald Stair anyway, you won't regret it. Emerald Stair's lovely this time of year. Even the Delimgon bloom.
No matter what I tell you, you keep picking flowers from things that want to kill you.
Hey, they love me. You just gotta ask nicely. Compliment their foliage.
Right. Maybe buy them a drink before they choke you to death with vines. Well, you came to the right place.
You and I have quite the adventure ahead of us, Envoy. That's the spirit. What about you, Marius? What's next?
I have, you know, things to do back in Paradise. It keeps me plenty busy.
Come to think of it, I haven't been to Emerald Stair in a while, and the Envoy's never been. Know any good guides we could hire?
None that could help the two of you. You need the best guide in the lands to keep you from getting yourselves killed.
Yeah. Who else is going to show us which mushrooms we can eat and which ones want to eat us?
Now that you mention it, you're going to need my help if you're traveling through the lands with this Nimdut. I have 2 rules. No campfire songs and no hugs. That last one's non-negotiable.
I hear wiggle room on the singing.
If we're done being ridiculous, we should get some rest. We'll be in Emerald Stair tomorrow.
Good to have you with us, Marius.
Right. Go to bed before you violate the hugging rule.
Alors, dans le cadre des échanges, ils ont parlé d'une cabane, et donc ça nous a débloqué la quête de compagnon Cicatrice de combat.
Nice handiwork. We should probably show this to Kai.
Ah, j'avais oublié, notre ami, on l'a au niveau de n'importe quel camp. Si on se TP dessus, on va pouvoir lui causer.
You went by Thomas' old house, yeah? What did you find there? What's that you got there? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Damn you, Tama. Damn you. I carved this for him years ago. I had no idea he kept it, let alone. All this time, I never knew. And he tells me like this, when he's long gone, leaving me with nothing but a piece of driftwood I gave him years ago. Would be if he just told me. I never gave him any reason to be coy. And we knew each other for years. We were close. I trusted him with things in my past. Things I don't talk about. Sometimes I wish you weren't so damn perceptive. Did I tell him? Huh. I was a mess when we met. I'd been through the battles in Deadfire and a handful of mercenary campaigns since. I was a chewed-up piece of flotsam drifting to the living lands. Oh, I don't blame him. Tom always saw right through me. He knew what I was. A coward who failed him. I let him down. He was always there when I needed him. But when he needed me, I'm sorry. I'm gonna need some time with this. That's probably for the best. I appreciate you listening, especially since we haven't talked much, just the two of us. Let's call it a night.
You came to Emerald Stair looking for answers, and now we're leaving with more questions. How do we fight the Dream Scourge? What can we do about Sapadal? And where is the garden? Not to mention why the Steel Garrote attacked my fucking home. Then we had better prepare to fight back. We were lucky this time. My people will be on high alert, but that doesn't mean we're safe. The Steel Garrote are hunting anyone who doesn't conform to their vision of the living lands. Our freedom is on the line.
So on top of the Dream Scourge rotting your fields and turning kith and beast alike into monsters, now we've got a Death Guard Inquisitor and the Steel Garrote dogging our steps. Do you think Ludwig will try something similar in Thirdborn? Thirdborn's a rugged place that attracts rugged people. Lots of Rawatayans, scramble routes with no prospects back home, washouts from military or mercenary life, sailors in search of steady ground. Add to that a motley assortment of pirates, free spirits, and people who like living under the loosest grasp of the law, and you've got Thirdborn. But rumor has it something's amiss in Shatterscarp. Strange dreams, disappearances, people wandering into the desert and never returning, or coming back. changed. Their bodies and minds twisted, corrupted. Some confused and disoriented like Belena, others violent like Adelaro.
At least that tells us we're on the right track. This dream scourge is one of the weirdest things I've ever tried to hunt. Right, the garden. Sure.
Everything we learned in Naku Tadek points us to the garden. Thirdborn is just a stepping stone. But we don't know anything about the garden. It could be a myth or a metaphor. Whatever the garden is or isn't, it's our only lead. We find the garden, we find the dream scourge. Yatsley is a master of the unknown and the unknowable. No mystery eludes her for long. If there is a path to the garden, Yatsley can lead us to it. I'd follow her anywhere.
Or maybe that god poking around your soul could give us directions.
Ask for directions. Why didn't I think of that? Kai, that's brilliant. Whatever Sapadal tells us will be filtered through a lot of metaphysical noise, but it couldn't hurt to try. This is so exciting. Sapadal? It's Giada. Giada Castel. If you're listening, could you please tell us more about the garden?
Castel. Castel. Why does this name sing to us? A voice through murky water. The garden stifles the notes. We cannot reach. The branches bind.
Did you get anything? In other words, nothing we didn't already know. Well, at least we tried. Clearly your link to Sapadal isn't as strong as it was in Naku Tadek, but I'll take it over nothing.
I'll pass. I've heard too many ghost stories that start this way.
Right. If I wanted to waste time, that's what I carry a flute for.
Just me then? Really? No one else has a question for the god of the living lands? Fascinating.
So let me see if I got this straight. We're looking for the garden, which might not exist. Our best lead is Yatsley, an eccentric scholar who's gone ahead to Thirdborn, where the dream scourge may be ravaging.
Don't look at me. I was fine going back to Paradise. Stop. You're aggravating my ulcer.
Listen, I hate to ask this, but while we're in Shatterscarp, there's something I need to do. Something I owe Tama. There's an old battlefield near some Pogrunan ruins. Area called the Shark's Teeth. Tama lost his badge there. I need to get it. Thanks.
Takes courage to go back for something you lost. I wouldn't have it in me.
Get some rest. Sleep is good for the soul. I wanted to say, for all of its imperfections, Fiorme Siverno deserves a second chance. Thanks to you, it has one. I won't forget it. I couldn't care less what they think. Just to be safe, we should remain vigilant. Sleep in shifts. Look after each other. Rest while you can. Our enemies are organized, but so are we.
Let's get some rest. We have a long day ahead of us.
Give me a second.
That's all of them.
The Rowatine badge. Kai might want to see this.
I don't know. It just...
When you were out in the shark's teeth, you didn't happen to find a badge belonging to Tama, did you? It sure is. Reminds me of old times. Long marches under the desert sun. Scouting runs through sandstorms so thick we had to tie our tunics over our mouths. It was sunburn on your top half and chafing on your bottom half, but yeah, those were good days. And Tama, he'd wake us up before dawn with the most off-key singing you've ever heard and a pot of burnt merc brew. He kept us marching until we had sand in every orifice you can think of, and a few you didn't know you had. Just when it felt like we were gonna collapse, he'd call it and we'd make camp. And somehow, we'd all find the energy for a few rounds of cards or songs or stories. He was the best I ever knew. I don't know. This won't bring him back. This won't change anything. Because I'm a glutton for punishment? Here's the truth. I led a patrol. We were ambushed. Tama came to our rescue. And he suffered a fatal wound in the process. He was the color of an eel's belly. The stubborn bastard made it all the way back to Thirdborn. We got him a sickbed, but we knew he didn't have long. Yeah. You ever had to watch someone fade away? When it's slow and agonizing, no glory, no din of battle, no distractions. Then you know. It's like sitting still while someone drags rusty nails over your skin. Sitting there, I noticed that he was missing his badge. And all the time I'd known him, I'd never seen him take it off. Then you get it. To an old trencher like him, that badge meant belonging, honor. I'm sorry, Envoy. I haven't talked about this in a while. You and I really don't talk much outside of planning our next move or moments like this. I'm not sure why this is spilling out of me all of a sudden. Thanks. Just having his badge in hand means more than you know. There's just one last thing I've got to do. There's a memorial site with some cairns on the cliffs east of Thirdborn. One of those cairns is Tama's. It's time I said goodbye. It's the least he deserves. Especially after... Never mind. Let's get some rest. Thomas Memorial. Never thought anything could contain that man, you know? That booming laugh, that bottomless appetite, boundless energy. Now he's under a pile of rocks. You're just making this more real. This is where you're supposed to distract me, lighten the mood with a wisecrack or something. Well, you didn't have to give me the truth. There's something I didn't tell you about Thomas' death. Remember how I noticed he'd lost his badge? I went out. I told him I was going to go find it. He told me to stay. I said I'd be right back. No. You'd have come back. I walked away, Envoy. And I kept walking. Not since returning with you. Couldn't imagine anyone would be too happy to see me after everything. Now you know why I never went back to his house in Emerald Stair. Why I never came back to Thirdborn. At least I'm in good company. The truth is, traveling with you and Marius, getting to know Giada, it's felt easy. Too easy. I've gotten comfortable. The fact that you and I don't talk a whole lot has made it easy to get along and get by. But I'm not that guy, Envoy. I'm not a joiner. I'm good for a skirmish, some war stories, a few drinks, but I'm not someone you keep around. Come on, you know my story now. I let people down. I let them down when they're counting on me most. Self-compassion. That's a balm for outbursts and hangovers. I know what I am. I'm finally facing it. I've run from this for so long. Maybe it's what I deserve. What? No, I didn't. He died pulling my ass out of the fire, and I still let him face it alone. How can I remember him without remembering that? He was all those things. I never forgot it. I guess I stopped thinking of him as anything other than the dying man I left behind. I never realized I'd let my failure change the way I remembered him. One of the things I loved about Tama was how he gave us all a fresh start. No matter where we'd come from or what we'd done. I drifted to Paradise, but never thought about where I'd go from this. Tama always talked about the places he hoped to see. The islands of Deadfire, the tundras of Nasitok, the ancient cities of Old Valia. Maybe I ought to see some of those places for us both. As a traveler, not a soldier. Once we've stopped the Dream Scourge and dealt with the Steel Garrote. I've got some things to sort out, but it feels good to have something to look forward to.